now. Let's go ahead and make sure that the overlay is not on as Game 7 gets underway. So it is going to be a Terran versus Zerg on MLG Entombed Valley. It's going to be Gekko versus Seo-hyung. And I'm interested to see what Seo-hyung brings to the table. In the past, he has been a very aggressive Terran player, playing to that typical Korean style, and we'll see if it does hold true, as we see Gekko spawning on the bottom right-hand side of the map as the pink Zerg. Meanwhile, Seo-hyung, the blue Terran, over here on the bottom left-hand side of the map.
Yeah, in sort of close positions. They're both on the southern side of the map, and that the walking distance is, I want to say it's probably similar to Zelnaga. So the full cross positions give you quite a distance between your opponents, but going down those ramps, it's not too far to your opponents. Definitely the third will be very close to your opponent, so that could come into play. There's some meter harass at the third or drops into the third, and I think this should be a pretty intense matchup just based on these positions.
Yeah, one of the things that I like about this map, as opposed to, say, Terminus, is that it's not one of those spiral maps. It's actually designed so that the third base of each of these the third base of each of these positions is actually closer, as opposed to one third being further away than the other.
Right.
That you also have on Tal'Darim. So both of these players are gonna have to figure out if they want to run on two bases or possibly run on three. As we now see Seo-hyung setting up a barracks here on the front door, and right now we don't see Gekko really doing anything at all, just scouting out with a drone.
Yeah, so he's going to find his opponent pretty early on. He's going to know that there's the just the one racks going up at the moment, and not a complete wall off either. Not using the supply depot at the ramp, instead placing it in the mineral line, maybe saving a little bit of distance mining time, and Gekko will see that the gas is going down, so I imagine he will suspect the standard Hellion opening, which we've all sort of come to know and love in the recent metagame, or even not so recent metagame. Basically since the summer, I think Hellions have, last summer, Hellions have become basically the staple of this matchup.
Alright, but Seo-hyung doing a little bit of an interesting move, placing the supply depot where the add-on would normally be. So normally I would have assumed that it was going to be that reactor Hellion with the supply depot wall off, but this just completely throws it all out the window, and I'm kind of curious as to what Seo-hyung wants to do with this opening, as the SCV does scout out that fast expansion. I believe it was a 15 hatch, followed by a pool, and still no gas.
Yeah, no gas from Gekko, and you don't really need gas too early. I think, again, Zerg players, I've said it before, are experimenting with gas later and later, speed later and later, and looks like he's going to transfer a few drones down there to try to defend against any sort of early harassment. And Seo-hyung sends one Marine across the field to poke a little bit, maybe try to catch an Overlord. But he will be going for the factory and the reactor. Actually had to lift up the racks, like you mentioned, that supply depot was in the usual spot for that add-on. Now Seo-hyung going to be going for that command center as well.
Alright, so Seo-hyung is just trying to confuse us casters as we're watching the game. It is going to be that standard command center reactor Hellion opening, but you got to remember that the Zerg player perhaps likes this map because there is a ramp at the natural. Zerglings can hide over here on the north, and the Hellions don't really know what they're going to be driving into until they get into that position. And we'll see what Seo-hyung does, as he does start the double training of the Hellions now. Command center about halfway completed, and we still have yet to establish that second gas yet, so we don't know what Seo-hyung wants to follow all of these Hellions up with yet.
Still no gas for Gekko. Pretty interesting. I talked about late gas, but typically we'd see it a little bit earlier than now, and it looks like he might just be trying to focus on his minerals, maybe go for a fast third, but that's going to be awfully tough to defend with those rocks still up, and he's droning really hard. 7 drones about to come out, and with the Queen and the Spinecrawler here, we'll see if he's going to take any sort of damage. Lining up his his drones, one does go down, another few shots do go off. So it looks like those Hellions were able to take down 3 drones. not worth it mineral-wise, but maybe when you count having to spend the larva, it could be worth it.
Yeah, I would say a pretty even trade. The larva had to be replaced. Also, each drone normally mines about 50 minerals a minute, so this may delay Gekko's builds just a little bit. Also, the Marines and the Hellions know that they can't really continue that push, as Gekko does, I believe, have 3 or perhaps even 4 queens. And this is really the defensive style that I've seen a lot of Zerg players do as of late. And really delay that gas, really oversaturate on 2 bases, and then normally right around now you would see a macro hatch set up somewhere, as Gekko should have a very, very nice drone advantage, already sitting up to 38 to 27, an 11 worker advantage just at the 7-minute mark of this game.
Yeah, the other thing I like about the 4-queen play, not only does it help you defend against early Hellions, as we do see the Hellions trying to deny creep spread here, but it also helps you spread creep pretty quickly. And that creep highway, if it's halfway across the map, but before the Terran decides to push out with any sort of timing attack, it can just be a huge advantage. If you're able to catch tanks or Marines with medevacs in the midfield rather than at your base with Lings, it can definitely sort of even things up a little bit. The tanks aren't in siege mode, as we see the Hellions just ripping apart all those creep tumors, but those queens just going to go down and place them again in just a moment. Maybe lower a spine crawler down in the low ground as well.
Alright, we'll see what's going to happen here. Gekko now making his way over. It looks like the creep tumors, one will go down. And I really like the play by Seo-hyung. He purposely destroyed the creep tumors that could make another creep tumor first. So we'll see what's going to happen now. Gekko does have a lot of roaches, and now going into 76 over 76 food, still an 11 worker advantage. And I don't think Seo-hyung will be able to really continue all of this pressure. The Hellions could perhaps get over and start torching some of those Zerglings through the rocks, which would have to be kind of a cute play. But now Roach is making their way over, and the Hellions do need to back off.
Yeah, and it looks like we're going to have a lot of bio with medevac play coming up. There's no tech lab on the factory quite yet, so siege tanks aren't going to be in play, and actually a few more Hellions coming out of the factory. So Seo-hyung's going to be going for drop play perhaps as soon as he gets a few medevacs. Looks like he has 2 out at the moment, so he could start loading up some Hellions and hoping to do some damage.
Yeah, but right now we also see 11 Banelings coming in, and perhaps Gekko suspecting, no, 23 Banelings coming in. That is a huge number of Banelings, and this front door, this game may be over before it even really gets started, as those Banelings are going to be able to deal so much damage, just suiciding their way into this wall off over here.
You'll see whether Seo-hyung's able to focus down any of these Banelings with the Hellions. The bunker goes down immediately, now having to pull all of his SCVs, and they're able to take a lot of damage from these Banelings. Still a ton of Banelings, a huge amount of SCVs do go down there. Banelings once again finding their targets. So far, 14 SCVs killed, and we've got more Lings streaming across the field, hoping to put the dagger through the heart of Seo-hyung here.
So what, Seo-hyung now being forced to retreat. He is getting back up onto the high ground. He is retreating with this orbital command, but a lot of damage already dealt. 41 workers compared to 24. And now Gekko can just pretty much establish up his third and wait until wait a little while longer, perhaps max up at 200 food sometime around the 15-minute mark to go for the kill.
If he wanted, he could just Baneling bust right up past this supply depot and maybe take the main right now. But like you said, maybe pulling back and going for the third, a little bit more of a safe play. He's already shut down the expansion of Seo-hyung, taking down a lot of SCVs. It's 44 to 26 harvester count, and Seo-hyung was able to save that second command center, so a smart move there, lifting off, and he's going to be able to double pump SCVs, trying to make up a little bit of his deficit. But a Zerg player, which is 2 bases ahead of you as a Terran, plus a macro hatch as well, it's going to be really tough to handle in a few minutes.
Yeah, Gekko taking a very early lead, even though the food count doesn't really show it. 84 compared to 73, only a difference of an 11. But worker count, about double, 27 to 53. Mules are being called into play, though, and perhaps if he's able to mine, but in comes a very large drop. Zerglings are perhaps looking to try and intercept that, and what will happen here as the Marines, simply going to fly past the natural expansion and get in the main base, and this is going to be a problem if Gekko cannot get the units. No, dropping in the back of the mineral line, beautifully timed, beautifully positioned, and now this hatchery may fall.
Yeah, completely going to turn this game around, as this is a lot of bio suddenly with 4 medevacs is enough to really support just a ton of stims. He needs some banelings in here to get some good shots. He's going to need some queens to try to focus down those medevacs. And if it gets tough for So Young, he can just pick up and leave.
All right, in come the banelings. The banelings, are they going to find their targets? No, they are not. And it looks as though we at most lost about maybe 12 food. Overlord's now in position again. Zerglings are now going to try to run across the front. The Hellions getting some easy damage here. The Marines need a stim back at home. Going to clean up some Zerglings. And Seo Hyung turning this game around, doing a great job. Banelings detonating without finding their targets as well. And wow, Jekko perhaps did a one round of drones too many, as we now see 51 drones to 30 SCVs, but the food is about the same.
Yeah, as long as some Baneling hits don't come off here, I think So Young might have this, but Banelings are making their way into the Marines, actually doing a decent amount of damage there, and some of these units are not in range of the medevacs, so they're not getting full healing, though there are a ton of medevacs on the field. 7 right now. In fact, maybe more medevacs than this small force really does need, but still this is quite a mighty little force compared to what Jekko does have. But he's coming out. Oh, now he's got the Infestors on the field. It's going to be Chain Fungal here. All these medevacs will go down. A Queen going to contribute as well. And he's definitely going to shut down this attack, taking down the remaining medevacs. 92 to 59. This is a crazy back and forth game 7, Crota.
Yeah, a crazy game 7. Jekko still with a 20 Harvester advantage so far, so that is going to be his path to victory right now. He needs to defend. Zerglings benefiting from this creep highway more than halfway across the field. It is going to be 3 bases to 2, or 2 bases to 2 right now, but the Harvester advantage, 50 drones compared to 30 SCVs. There are a lot of mules in play, so that is going to definitely help out, but without any siege tanks to really detonate those banelings and destroy those infestors, I can't see how Seo Hyung can get back in it quite yet.
Yeah, he's trying to come out with siege tanks now, but siege tech not even started, so there's going to be a few timings here for Jekko to again pressure this natural with some banelings. He does have lair tech at this point, so speed has not yet started for those banelings, but if he does get speed, he's going to be able to assault this front door very easily with banelings as well as infestors.
Alright, we'll see what's going to be happening next. Next, it looks like Seo Hyung is going to move out with a 1 small medevac drop. It is 2 bases versus 2 bases. There is 1 macro hatch already completed, but those infestors were so clutch for Jekko. And Jekko now able to trade energy. Oh, there's a fungal growth, and that is going to be chain fungal. No, Seo Hyung able to barely escape with that. Jekko not paying attention, as we'll see what's going to be happening next.
Yeah, I'm not quite sure about that play. He used 2 fungals, only 1 hit, and even if he did chain fungal that, there was only 4 Marines in that medevac, so I'm not sure it would have been worth all those fungals. So Jekko chooses not to do that, and he's just now established his 3rd again, trying to get up his 5th and 6th gas. He's got Burrow on the way, as well as more and more infestors, and he's really heavily invested in infestors at this point. He's got 9 and I think a 10th on the way, so he's going to have to get some good fungals off in this next encounter. Alright,
we'll see what's going to happen here. Jekko, with so many infestors, should be able to just trade energy for units, as you mentioned. And it's really going to come down to the fungals, whether or not they hit and how much damage is dealt. Also, Jekko does have 2-2 upgrades being completed, while the Marines are currently going to be at 1-0. That is not good news, as those Marines are not going to be dealing enough damage. Also, the siege tanks will not be able to one-shot Zerglings, as they don't have weapons upgrade either. 2-1 upgrades now just starting, as crackling upgrades starting for Jekko.
Yeah, wow, I didn't realize he had gotten to Hive, but it looks like So Hyung is going to establish his 3rd around the same time as Jekko going to be establishing his 4th. So both players transitioning from a crazy aggressive early game into more of a mid game here. Harvester count is 76 to 42, so we do have Jekko about 25 Harvesters ahead. And as long as he uses these siege tanks, slow pushes here, I think he's going to be, or So Hyung's going to be in decent position for this next push.
Alright, we'll see what's going to happen. Zergling's now trying to push away in. Siege tanks, a whole bunch of infestors catching a couple medevacs, and that is going to be some chain fungal growth, followed by infested Terrans, and 2 medevacs unable to escape. A very, very sad day for those medevac pilots. All they wanted to do was just to save the boys, but no, the infestors wouldn't allow any of that.
And a sensor tower goes down for Sohyung, so an interesting decision there. We hardly see sensor towers used in this matchup with there's no mutas on the field, so maybe he was just trying to see, I don't know what he was using that sensor tower for, as I imagine his units are going to be positioned sort of between these bases, so if he wants to have a sensor tower, I'd put a little bit farther to the north of his natural to try to sense any run-bys.
Alright, we'll see what's going to happen next. You can see that the front door has been completely walled off with supply depot. Seo-hyung trying to inch forward, perhaps going to build another command center and turn this into a planetary fortress at the 6 o'clock position. He needs to take this. What's going to happen here is infestors now pushing their way in. A lot of infested Terrans. Where's the fungal growths? There they go, but a lot of infestors were killed there, and Gekko perhaps overextending himself just a bit, and that was not a good exchange for Gekko.
Yeah, where were the lings there? I mean, you got to throw those infested Terran down to absorb a little siege tank fire, and then hit with your big group of upgraded lings. They're 2-2 at this point, and get some banelings in there as well. And then it looks like he just went with the infestors and sacrificed actually quite a few infestors. Now sort of trading infestors for Marines, or infestor energy for Marines. Sohyung doing his best to take small groups of Marines and Hellions to try to take down infestors, but a big run by coming here from Gekko, and there's a front door for Sohyung, so not too much damage will be taken, hopefully.
Gekko now just being forced to re-engage. The supply depots will now all burn to death as the Zerglings are able to get by. The supply depot is down. 1 Marine, 2 Marines trying to fight back all of these Zerglings inside the base. There's not that many SCVs here at the main base though, so perhaps a little bit of a lucky break there, as Seo-hyung shouldn't lose that many workers. It looks like the Zerglings have all been cleaned up, but a lot of low hit point bio needs to be re-healed, as we have another large engagement at the front door. Infestors just simply walking inside here. Marines, siege tanks perhaps need to siege up, but the infestors are now out of energy pretty much, and they may all fall.
Yeah, a lot of lings go down here, so it looks like 2 big rounds of lings do go down for Gekko, but he's got more on the way, as he does have these 4 bases. A few of them actually mined out. He's just mining off of 2 bases, but it looks like these reinforcements going to cause problems for Sohyung. It's 133 to 83 at this point, so the Zerg player up by about 50 food, but Sohyung in decent position on this ramp, holding off these lings, but the lings are just going to town on his 3rd. He's lost a lot of SCVs. Right now, it is 73 to 27, and I think without Harvester count, Gekko's won this game.
Alright, we'll see what's going to happen now, as we are going to get a drop in at the 3 o'clock position. Zerglings now trying to test the front door. Who can deal more damage? Double Queens, Infestors getting a fungal growth, so this drop is going to be countered before it even really gets there. And with that, Seo-hyung down to 50 food, and I believe Gekko will take the victory here for Infinity 7.
Wow, so quite a back and forth game. Gekko with the initial pressure, and then it looked like Sohyung was out of it, but then he had that Doom drop, that great positioning right between the 3rd and the main, but then that sort of stabilized as well. Both players made it to that mid and the early late game there, and Gekko, just with his great economy and his Ling upgrades, I think played a huge factor in those battles as well. He was able to take down the forces of Sohyung.
Yeah, I think Gekko getting those fungals, not losing his cool. He knew that that drop was coming in, and he was very well prepared for that, getting off 7 infestors with the pathogen glands, and that stopped the drop right in, or that stopped the push right in its tracks. And that was really the turning point for Gekko. Gekko was on a downhill slide on a slippery surface, but was able to get back into it.
Yeah, I mentioned his record before. He's 134 and 51, so that's better than a 66% win percentage. That's, I don't know, probably closer to 70, 75%. A little short of 75%, but closer to 70% win percentage on the North American ladder. That's pretty insane.
Yeah, definitely insane. Once again, I want to say, everyone,